Welcome to the Final Hour podcast, coming to you from the original Living Word Christian Center out of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah.
My name is Jim Hammond.
I'm Lonaiah Farrell.
And I'm the other guy, Darien Gap,
And?
son of a butcher.
And?
Jerry. Yes.
You were the son of a butcher with pride, John. I'm glad.
Absolutely.
Glad you do.
Son of a butcher,
Yeah.
wilted flower.
It's about how I feel right now.
Twin wilted flower.
It doesn't really mean wilted flower. In Swedish, it means twin flower. Okay.
Means twin flower.
And she's a twin.
It is. It's a significant story.
People are writing in, they want more information.
No, listen. My
Okay.
mom didn't
On
know she was
people,
having
on us.
twins till after I was born. And a twin flower, it comes out as one,
Yeah.
and then once it's like developed, it sprouts
Did
another.
she have Lonaiah picked out beforehand?
Yeah, it was supposed to be Lonaiah Lindsay, so my twin's name is Lindsay.
That is wild. That's prophetic. Is really.
It is. It was spoken into existence for a long time. Yep.
That is.
So I'm a
That's
twin. Yep. It's fun being a twin.
Is it fun?
Is your
Sometimes.
mom? Is your mom a like of Swedish or Scandinavian?
No, my
descent?
my dad,
Right,
my grandpa
Carlson. Yeah.
came from Sweden when he
Cool.
was 3. Yep.
Nice.
That's Lonaiah's history lesson.
Wow.
Okay. How many children do you have?
I have 3 kids
Okay.
And a dog.
and a dog, 21, 18, and 16.
Okay.
John, how about you?
Well, I have 3 kids
Yep.
currently. 20, 15, 1. We got
And-
one on the way.
To be born.
Yeah.
And Jimmy.
It's a boy.
It's a boy.
It's a boy.
Oh,
I guess this
yay.
is my announcement. Hey, we're having a boy.
And Jim's wearing blue in
Aw.
honor of that.
Thanks. It's like a really vibrant blue, like a
It's
cobalt.
probably called azure blue.
Azure, yeah. Because it's not quite periwinkle, and it's not quite cobalt.
Jim's not impressed.
He's not.
Jim has 2 kids, right, Jim?
Yeah, 30 and 27. Boy 30 and girl 27. Man 30.
James
woman
the
27.
third.
He is James the third.
So he can't be called Junior because he's a 3rd.
No, because he's junior.
He's Junior.
Did you ever watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? And
With
Sean Connery? Yeah.
I thought it was really dumb.
and he kept calling Indiana Junior.
Yeah,
Junior.
I never watched the whole thing.
Indiana was the dog's name.
Is Sean Connery still alive?
No, he passed.
Sir Sean Connery.
Well, dead Sean
He
Connery,
got knighted.
unfortunately.
I think they knight a lot of people over there. Yeah.
So
We don't do a lot
got-
of knighting here.
No, we don't. It's probably a good thing.
you got anything
so.
else funny to say?
It just comes
Okay.
organically.
Yeah, you can't write it.
All right.
Well, I mean, some people can. I can't.
Okay.
We go off
Sullivan,
the cuff
if
with
you
our
ever
humor.
if you ever had Sullivan on this thing, he'd want to write some stuff.
He would. He'd want to
Yeah.
come with some funny things.
He would be good to have.
You would.
Yeah, he can. He can have my spot.
I don't know. I
One day, one time.
well,
Not
I
quitting
think,
the
I
podcast.
think the time is short.
That's true. He leaves soon. But anyways.
But we're kind of picking up where we left off before the Abomination of Desolation episode.
Desolation.
That was a type or shadow when Antiochus Epiphanes committed the Abomination of Desolation in the Jewish temple hundreds of years before Jesus was born. He was the player that would be called the King of the North in Daniel 11. It was a type or a shadow of what the Antichrist is going to do in the tribulation. And I hear different views of the Abomination of Desolation. I heard Jimmy Evans just say it's going to be an idol of the Antichrist in the temple that talks, right? But I've also heard that he walks in there and sits down him very self, right? Like there's different opinions on how.
Right.
I can see the second one being more of what it probably
Yes, but just to remind you, we're talking about how in place things are in regard to Europe receiving the Antichrist. We left off a few weeks ago on the Knights Templar, a fanatical religious military order that existed from 1119. I think that would be AD, obviously, and 1312 AD.
That's correct.
And so they had a run officially of just under 200 years, the Knights Templar. You could say the Knights Templar were probably at that time the most trained, skilled soldiers in the world.
Yeah.
Heavily involved in the Crusades. At the time, the Christians held Jerusalem. During the Crusades, keep in mind, the Crusades went back and forth on who controlled Jerusalem between the Muslims and the Christians. The Knights Templar were given areas in the palace where the king of Jerusalem resided, and that he gave to the Knights Templar, basically right where the Dome of the Rock is today.
Oh.
Is where the Knights Templar resided.
It's like built on Solomon's Temple, part of that site, or no?
Yeah, the king of Jerusalem stayed in there too.
Yeah,
but it would be right where that we've shown you the Dome of the Rock.
We have a link.
We have a link.
I guess the reason I was saying that is the reason they're called Templars is because they were housed on a site where Solomon's Temple was. That was part of why they were called.
Yeah,
the Knights Templar.
They were. I think all the temples are pretty much in the same spot, weren't they? But well, Jerry, we have that picture for them of the Dome of the Rock. It's not coincidental that that's where the Knights Templar resided.
Yeah.
For all the glory they've been given, the Knights Templar were Satan worshipers. John.
Not you.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm not a Satan worshiper.
Well, who today do you think, John, are descendants of the secretive military order, the Knights Templar? Do you have
the
any?
Jesuits?
Yes, and so is there do you know if there is an organization today carrying on the Knights Templar secrets?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you see the movie The Skulls?
I have.
With the secret society people?
Everything that I could research said that the Freemasons picked up where the Templars left off.
That's what I said.
They even have their shield is basically the same thing. The two riders on the horse with the... Anyway, yeah.
Well,
their head behind it.
The Templar Knights were part of the Crusades. When Jerusalem changed hands from the Muslims to the Christian armies, the Templars were probably, you would say, maybe the special forces of that army, the most well-trained. There was another Christian, or I don't know about the Hospitaller Knights. They were right. They were competitive with the Templar Knights. They were probably just as crooked. I haven't done any research on them.
Yeah,
the Hospitaller Knights.
They and actually Clement V, the Pope that I mean, there's some intrigue that happened at the last 15 years of the Templars in their official capacity. Philip IV of France, he was a king, and he's like, hey, only the Pope has control of the Templars. Like, they're directly underneath him, and they're doing some junk that we don't think is right. And so he complained to the Pope, and the Pope actually sent a papal bull and said that Philip was going to be excommunicated. Well, then Philip had the Pope kidnapped and he died. He died of shock being kidnapped. There, this is like early 1300s.
Wow.
And then the guy that replaced him died mysteriously right after he took the papal seat, and then one of Philip's childhood friends, Clement V, actually took the position of Pope. and he actually kind of shielded the Templars for a while, but then by 1312, they disbanded it, and they tried to merge in those last few years the Templars into the Hospitallers, and it didn't necessarily work. And the Templars were disbanded, but then a bunch of the Templars went into the Hospitallers order, and probably took a lot of their wealth and their mission with them.
The Hospitallers were a group of knights that were competitive with the knight. They didn't like each other. Both sides were very, very well trained, the best soldiers that the Christian Crusades had. But the Knights Templar created the first checkbook ever invented. They were bankers, and they were richer than any king or any country at that time. All those crusaders, those crusader armies, where the Christian world said, we're going to take the Holy Land from the Muslims. Well, let's just say those people weren't good witnesses for Jesus. All right,
No.
They killed everything. They killed Muslim women, children. They were murderers. The Knights Templar were definitely part of all that. From the first time they took Jerusalem, they killed them all. They killed Jews. They killed Muslims. They killed everything. Yeah. Women, children, when they sacked Jerusalem. And you know what? The Muslims didn't do that. The Muslims, the general, one of the main ones, Alayad Sadan, the Muslim general, he never killed women and children, ever. And so these people were an embarrassment to Christianity. But the point is, to be part of the Christian army, you had to travel from Europe to the Middle East. And so the Knights Templar said, hey, we've got an idea.
Yeah.
You come to one of our locations in Europe and you give us all the stuff that you cannot take with you. And we will cut you a check for how much your stuff is worth, right? And so what you do...
It's so funny.
Yeah.
That they were doing that
It
back
was like
then.
it was traveler's checks, basically.
So basically, it's like those stores right now where you can go bring your clothes and they give you money for it. That's what the Knights Templar,
kind of like that.
Probably smelled.
Well, because if you're a knight, and a knight meant that you had land, or you at least had position in a country or a fiefdom or something. They had money.
Right.
But you didn't want to be traveling with a bag of gold. They didn't have bills to hide. They had to carry like currency. And so to have to carry that, 1,000 miles away or whatever to Jerusalem, it was tough.
That's
and
why
so
the
this
Knights
whole
Templar
system,
came in.
this whole system to go, hey, you're going to deposit with our people here in this land, and then we'll give you this check, and then when you get to the Holy Land or one other place, you turn it in, you get cash to spend. Finally, you got your
money,
your gold back for a fee.
Because these people, a lot of them were aware that they may never come back anyways.
Right.
The way things were going over there. So they give their stuff to the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar would issue them a check, and when they go over to the Knights Templar in Jerusalem, you had to check into the Knights Templar, give them your check that they issued you from the location in Europe, and you get your money.
They probably undercut those prices a lot.
Oh, they
made some.
They
bank.
definitely made fees. Welcome to the crusade. Are you checking in or checking out?
Well, I've read a lot about the Crusades. Isn't it crazy? It shows you how messed up the world, the Christian world was. There's a lot of guys that would say, if I go fight for 5 years over there or 3 years over there, I get my sins forgiven for life. Right. Yeah. So, like that was kind of, you get blessed by a spiritual leader, and that's what they tell you to absolve you of all your sins. But
what a racket!
There's an estimation of 50 to 70% of the people that left for the Crusades didn't make it, whether if they were on a horse, a donkey, or if they were traveling by ships. Many of the ships were lost at sea.
Yep.
So long story short, what happens if someone dies is the Knights Templar wind up with someone's possessions and they don't have to redeem the money. And it made them extremely, extremely rich.
Yeah.
In the year 1128,
Wow.
the Pope said, hey, the Knights Templar are untouchable. And
Pope.
it really did make them untouchable. They were untouchable for a long time. They were the richest organization on earth, even though their time span was a little less than 200 years. It's documented their sacred ritual initiations.
Yeah,
they had to spit on the cross. They had to acknowledge an entity with the face of a goat. And in their eyes, they thought sodomy was a right. And the goat, so that means many of them were homosexuals also. They had to pay homage to this guy called Baphomet.
Yep.
Baphomet is the goat, and we have a picture of Baphomet, a link to his picture.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Jeremiah will show it right here on the Final Hour podcast, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. And
I got something about that Baphomet.
Sure.
So the final Templar, the head of the Templars, I don't remember what his name is. Anyways, when Clement V sentenced him to be burned at the stake, he wanted to be burned near Notre Dame, and on Notre Dame, the Templars had built part of it. I don't know if they built all of it. I know that they had some of it. They had engraved part of Notre Dame with Baphomet, and he wanted to be killed or at least buried in front of, facing that Baphomet image.
Wow.
You know,
That's some deep stuff.
What's interesting is on the Dome of the Rock, those faces that come naturally in the marble, one of them looks like a goat.
It does.
Isn't that interesting? And that's the very
wild.
place that the Knights Templar resided. And so they pay homage to Baphomet in their little secret ceremony. Baphomet, we have a picture of him. They worshipped the devil. And by the way, Baphomet showed up at a Christmas decoration in the Iowa.
I was going to say.
As a display in the Iowa State Capitol.
Until that guy cut
gross.
the head off of him and is now getting
Good for him.
charges pressed against him.
But think about this.
Stupid.
The Christian army had an elite, powerful, small group that you would really call their special forces, really rich, incredible in combat, and they were devil worshippers. You know, the Knights Templar, and this was very evil. This was Europe. This was the Crusades. The most powerful military force that those crusade heads were Satan worshippers, and you have this strain of evil beginning. Think about this: the guys that started the banking system are Satanists, and they're fighting on the outside for God. The King of France exposes them within a period of a week. He kills almost all of them, or captures and tortures. But here's the thing: a strand of the Knights Templar survived. And continued all the way into the 1800s. So then what we have from there is something called the Enlightenment era, the Bavarian Illuminati, or what came out of the Knights Templar. And isn't it interesting to do a deep dive on the world banking system? It is very evil.
Yes.
The evil spirit that started within the world banking system is for sure still there. And we have a link to a YouTube on the world banking system.
Yeah, it's so good. Doesn't the Bible say the love of money is the root of all evil?
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Listen, you want to
Interesting.
You want to view this. How long is
It's
that?
like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. It is. I couldn't even explain to you the
It's
content
very
in
deep.
it. It's very deep.
Yeah.
And you know
Very
this.
deep.
I think this guy cusses a little bit,
Yeah, he does.
but it's worth
Some of the
watching.
things you might want to cuss about.
The world
messed
banking
up.
system is
is.
extremely evil. It's part of the whole thing. He's going to share some things about the world banking system on this link. Check it out. The Knights Templar was exposed by the King of France. They continued. A lot of them were executed. it's even believed that some of them hopped on ships and came all the way to America because it's almost 200 years before Columbus, and they found Templar artifacts in Newfoundland, Canada.
Yeah, there's a whole show about trying to dig up what they think is where they deposited some riches.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I saw that. I watched it.
I think that's why the pirates were always looking for treasures.
Probably. Because a bunch of their cash went with them. I say cash, I mean
So,
gold and jewels.
As they continued along, as the Knights Templar evolved, it turns into an era, the Enlightenment era. In 1743, a goldsmith named Amschel Moses Bauer opened a coin shop in Frankfurt, Germany, and what he hung above the coin shop was a sign showing a Roman eagle and a red shield. Amschel Moses Bauer, the goldsmith, had a son named Meyer Amschel Bauer, who later bought the coin shop from his father. At that time, the son understood the significance of the red shield above the door, changed his name to Red Shield. This is in Germany. And Red Shield in German is Rothschild.
Oh my gosh.
So there,
shocker.
So that's where you
could just change your name back then. What a great time to be in. You could just move away and become a whole new identity if you wanted to.
You could still do that.
My grandpa.
Well, that takes a lot of work because you have to get a social security number that matches your identity now.
My family came over on my mom's side. They came over from Germany and part of Europe, and they were Nachtigalls, which then they translated that to nightingale.
Oh, a nightingale
in English. So happens a lot.
You're a nightingale, John?
I am.
It's great.
On my mom's side, he fled. Her relative fled the French Revolution, and wound up down in Haiti, and then lost his wife and his child.
Oh man!
Were beheaded in Haiti. Fled from there to Mobile, Alabama.
Wow!
And so that's where all that went. On my other side, the other side, you know that I'm a direct descendant from Rollo the Viking. So,
I thought your dog was.
Well, Rollo.
Okay.
No.
Also,
Jim is a direct descendant from Rollo, the actual Viking.
The actual Rollo.
Not Rollo, the sweet dog.
I didn't get his size. Rollo the Viking was so big that he couldn't ride a horse.
I think he was a Nephilim.
He had to walk everywhere he went because the Vikings had really little horses.
Yeah.
All right.
It was cold.
Yes, they had little horses, and Rollo the Viking was too big to ride the horse. Rollo the Viking,
little ponies.
He tried to take Paris 5 times, failed every time. So the French just gave him Normandy. All right.
Here you go.
And there.
Here you go.
Will you just stop?
Leave us alone.
And that's where the Normans started. The Normans, and 6 kings came from Rollo the Viking.
Maybe Cedric the Dane could have shared a horse with Rollo the Viking.
Maybe we should call you Norman.
Normie.
Norman Hammond.
The Normans were, the Normans came from the Vikings.
Yes.
Cheers.
And eventually took the throne in England, invaded England.
Cheers.
What Rothschild understood though, and believed. It's given
that was seamless.
It was.
That
Jim
was
just
seamless.
ignored our whole side combo.
What was this? What were you talking about?
It's okay. We can't go back and replicate our goodness.
That was seamless. Like I said, you were just seamless.
What's it called when you segue?
Segue.
You're just a great seguer.
Uh-huh.
Like Paul Blart, the mall cop.
I would love to see Jim on a Segway.
Come to one of my services. I'm not a great segwayer.
Oh, we should get him a Segway to ride on stage.
Oh,
a Segway, Jim. Did you ever see Paul Blart
like
Mall
the Segway
They're
scooter?
so dumb.
They're so dumb. They're funny.
It's impressive.
They're so dumb. I'm sorry if you have one.
You guys, when you go overseas, they do Segway tours everywhere. They do them here in California and things, but it's
Garrett.
I would never.
You remember Garrett?
I'd rather be on a scooter.
G-Fed.
Garrett was running over by Lake Calhoun, and a guy crossing the road was on a Segway and just did a head over heels with a Segway.
There is a person who lives by me. It's not a Segway, but it's like a little rolling ball.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
wears a helmet. He goes like 50 miles an hour.
There's some wild.
I would
little
never do
scooters
that. It looks like
nowadays.
remember those things you used to have as a kid, and it was like a ball and a thing you like jump on
and
it.
it's just a
that's what it
wheel
looked like.
with a platform that surrounds it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Paul Blart Mall ruined the Segway.
But wasn't that
maybe.
just
Because that's all you
classic?
think about.
It
That's all you
is.
think about.
It
You
is.
think about the
Absolutely.
doofy mall cop. riding-
Before COVID happened at Ridgedale, they had the security guys on those, and I think they got called Paul Blart so many times they got rid of them. My kids would heckle those
They had
guys.
zero respect.
They had zero respect because they have
Thanks,
a candy
Kevin
store
James.
at Ridgedale. Yeah, so we're there all the time.
And so what Rothschild understood, believed that if given enough time, he could take over the world by controlling the banking system and ultimately loaning money to governments, pulling strings behind the scenes. And if you could get a government that to owe you millions and billions, you can get a government to do anything you want. So
Absolutely.
Meyer Amschel Bauer, who had changed his name to Rothschild, teams up with a known Satan worshiper by the name of Adam Weishaupt. And so Weishaupt is a Satan worshiper. Rothschild wants to take over the world through the banking system. Their goals are very clear. They want to destroy the evangelical church that was gaining followers at that time in Europe. And these guys really thought that eventually that they could do this, that they could take over the world. They did not believe that God deserves to be worshipped. They believe that Satan should be worshipped over God. This is how the Illuminati was born in 1768. The Illuminati means illuminated ones. And you could go much deeper into this than we're going. Enlightened ones, they are lights of Lucifer, and they know that. And when they were exposed as Illuminati, they realized that they had to change into something. So Rothschild and Weishaupt infiltrated into the Freemasons, who at that time were just a bunch of builders. And a lot of the big churches and things had been built. The Freemasons at that time weren't that active in building when Rothschild and Weishaupt joined the Freemasons. So that's how you track all that.
Well, and you look at the beginning of the United States, and you've got people who you see as good men, like George Washington, Ben Franklin. At that time, you couldn't say a lot of things against the crown out in public, and also if you had class, if you were had a class, you couldn't rub elbows with people that didn't have that same class.
Right.
And so the Freemason lodges, you could go in, everybody is on the same level, and you can talk, and that's where a lot of information was exchanged pre-Revolutionary War. And so, we look at Freemasonry now, post this infiltration, and there are obviously some problems with Freemasonry, but you look and you go, well, actually it was a tool for a lot of people to be able to communicate via their lodges and that social setting without being part of an evil entity and organization at that point. So that was late 1700s.
And so here's something from a Freemason quoting Albert Pike from a book called Morals and Dogma, page 321. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name given to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. Is it he who bears the light? Doubt it not. So this Freemason is writing that Lucifer is the light. We have another Helena Petrovna Blavatsky in a book called The Secret Doctrine wrote, it is Satan who is the God of our planet and the only God. Lucifer represents the central
Centrifugal
energy of the universe that is ever living symbol of self-sacrifice for the intellectual independence of humanity. That's Sister Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, The Secret Doctrine. In the early 1950s, you have the European Organization of Nuclear Research or in French, the Council Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire. This is
Also known as
CERN, CERN. Okay,
dun,
CERN is actually CERN. Not Al Gore actually invented the internet. Okay.
Well, we're gonna put it in a lockbox.
Yeah, they invented the internet. They had the first web page in history in 1979. In 1993, they announced the World Wide Web would be free to everyone. CERN paid for and built something. These are a bunch of scientists, okay?
Yeah.
A collider complex called a collider complex that runs along the French and Swiss border.
Yep.
The complex, which is all underground, cost $9 billion. It's buried 600 feet underground, and it runs for 17 miles. This is CERN, C-E-R-N. And we have an image of that tunnel that
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you show the image there, Jerry? What are you doing, Jerry?
He's reading the Bible.
Oh, you're on TikTok? Okay, I thought you were reading your Bible. CERN is claiming that this collider can imitate, but through sending so much light and turning it into they can literally a Big Bang. Like they're trying to imitate the same Big Bang that they think created, in essence, humanity and the world.
More or less, they send protons around this big loop, and it takes about 10 hours to get up to speed, but they try to get it, and it gets to 99.7% of the speed of light. So, we've had different messages. Your dad talks about, at the speed of light, you basically are stepping into the realm of the eternal. So there's a lot of interesting things about that, but they aren't able to quite get to the speed of light. And then in the collider, there's like a box, for lack of better words. They collide particles and they try to get that explosion. What they call is the Big Bang particles, and they call that the God particle, the Higgs and Bose reaction. So they haven't found it yet. They've
close, they think?
made 3 other particles that they've kind of discovered, but they have not yet learned how to create the universe all over again.
No.
Well, when they had when they had the opening of the tunnel, well, this is the kind of things the Antichrist, he's going to unlock a lot of secrets. Sure. Right? And the Bible says that in Daniel. Like it's going to give him clout. And when they open this tunnel, they're going to reenact and recreate conditions, right out of the Big Bang. And they opened this tunnel June 1st, 2016, the opening of the 17-mile long tunnel, where they're going to create this Big Bang. And as you can see, we're back at the GOAT, Baphomet, because they had a party June 1st, 2016. And who's the star of their party? Baphomet. They have a guy dressed up like a goat at their, remember who the Knights Templar worshipped? And so in the occult world, Baphomet is the human embodiment of Satan, or at least a symbol of Satan. And during CERN's ceremony to open their Big Bang tunnel, this is just too coincidental. These are secular scientists. They had this goat man die a violent death, like he's acting, and then they have him raised from the dead, like the Antichrist, getting the fatal wound to the eye and the arm, and then raised from the dead. The goat man, they did this at their party, and they're reenacting scenes that will happen to the Antichrist, or acting them out beforehand, that are going to happen to the Antichrist in Revelation.
And then they're probably going to show that and say, see, look,
we
foretold you.
These are the top European scientists, some of the top scientists in the world. During the ceremony, the goat man is crowned as the ruler of the world. The border between Switzerland and France, this happened 8 years ago. Okay, so check out what CERN has sitting outside their headquarters building. You can see that. Can we get that one on too, Jerry? It's a structure of the goddess Shiva, the goddess of destruction. And we have that in links, and Jerry's probably going to get that up. The CERN logo is 3 6s. We're going to have that for you.
That's
It's a whole other thing.
I mean,
There's 3666 in the 3 in the logo.
They're laying it out there.
They're not hiding anything.
But isn't that like the Satanists? They have to do that. It has to be
Right.
like
Well,
that's
yeah,
part of
'cause,
it. Like
if you don't fight against it, you are giving permission.
No, I'm saying
they have to.
A Satanist has to openly display and show that
I
they
don't know if a
are part of the
Satanist-
cult.
yeah,
you know
probably.
what I'm saying?
But I'd probably
If you do some
would
deep
call them
dives into
Illuminati.
Illuminati. If you
Well-
do some deep dives into singers,
Yeah.
you see in their music
You
videos,
said Beyonce.
Jay-Z.
They got the lady
they
up there.
have the lady up
Yep.
there.
Yes.
Right.
And you know,
So it's like, of course, they're going
priestess
to
of-
have 666 just right there in front of you, just to show what they are.
and you can see the CERN logo on the links as well.
Yeah. You can look it up.
The headquarters where CERN
What?
is in a town called Saint Junipoli. Junipoli. The name of that town where CERN is located, Junipoli, comes from the Latin word Apollonia cone. And it is believed that in Roman times, the temple to Apollo existed as a gateway to the underworld in that very town. So what I'm saying by all this is that headquarters of CERN is being connected to what they think is the gateway to the underworld. So CERN is built on the spot where they believe the Romans had the temple.
Yeah.
That was the gateway to the underworld. And you know, the Latin word Apollonia cone is technically, if you put it all together, is named after this guy. In Revelation 9, the 5th trumpet judgment, an angel is given a key to the abyss, the bottomless pit. He opens the bottomless pit. You have these demon locusts that come out. That's a famous episode, right?
I know. I was just talking to my kids about this last night, this whole thing. Because my daughter's learning about the Big Bang at school.
Yeah.
And so I was asking her questions about it, and she was explaining how scientists, they prove God. They disprove God. Like, they say God isn't real, like he didn't exist. And then we were talking about the demon locust, because I explained all this to them. The demon locust. That might be one of my favorite episodes.
And I thought it was going to be
I was gonna ask about
a great title that would get us a lot of views, and I think I titled it Demon Locust,
You
and we
did.
didn't get hardly any views.
No, I think it has a lot of views.
some.
It took a long
We
time.
made fun of you,
we
me
had-
and Hayden.
Well, I was wondering if we were going to get into just the idea of the Big Bang, and
Now's your time,
it's-
John.
Well, it's an evolutionary excuse for God's starting of the universe,
Right.
and bringing everything into existence with speaking the word. But they miss everything because they
You mean that
want
we
to-
all came from one little organism and then we
Yeah,
all evolved
yeah.
into this?
I mean,
That's
it's
what the Big Bang
ridiculous.
Theory is.
I mean, that's evolutionary theory. Then it hinges on the Big Bang, because otherwise, how do you explain how everything got here? And so, I would love to talk to anybody that believes in evolution.
I feel like Lonaiah was just like the way she did that, and we all evolved into this. Like this, like
No, that's not us. I wasn't saying
Finally,
that.
we've arrived.
I don't think that
As
at
a
all
species.
highly of myself
This?
like that. No, I'm saying this. like
from the
we
Big
can't.
Bang.
Like right.
I don't think so.
Okay.
This
Yeah,
was,
anybody
This
wants
was
to have
from
that
God?
conversation,
this was
about
created.
if you are thinking that the evolutionary theory is
Evolution?
the evolutionary theory of the species or of the universe, and you think that is a good explanation of how everything got here, I would have an interesting conversation.
Do you want to
with
give us your number then, John, so we can call you with our questions?
JHAMMOND? Wait, I spelled it wrong.
From the goo to the zoo to you.
Exactly.
The fact that people really believe that. I was actually listening to
It is very
Jack Hibbs
unscientific
the other day.
to
It
even
is.
think that.
But he was saying atheists, like he was explaining how a lot of Jews are atheists.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't believe in God, but you're mad at God. So you do believe in God because you're so mad at God that
Right.
you're an atheist.
Right.
And you're living to disprove that God actually exists. And we had a friend a couple of years ago who was an atheist. And I'll tell you, that man knew his Bible. He could argue anything with you.
A Jewish guy?
No.
Oh,
Doug.
Oh, Doug.
Dougie.
So this I'm trying to connect this town, that CERN is located to, and it's all goes back to this Apollyon demon. All the locusts come out in the fifth trumpet judgment.
That's what I think of. Ew.
And they come out and they attack people that have the mark of the beast. They're not allowed to touch people who don't have the mark. They resemble locusts. They've got crowns on their head. They've got faces of people, hair like a woman, teeth like lions. They make a whirring noise when they fly around, and they're actually wearing breastplates. No, these are not helicopters.
Won't that really decipher who has the mark and who doesn't?
For sure.
All these people have bites, and then you're walking around like, I'm going to get eggs at the store, and you got nothing.
It's that the bite is so you want to die,
so painful,
and you don't die,
and you can't die,
and you can't do anything for 5 months.
Probably because
my gosh,
probably because
that sounds awful.
Nanobots are keeping you alive.
I had something like that when I was pregnant with my youngest. It was absolute hell.
What was it called?
Pups.
Oh.
You touched you, and you would get you usually get it with your first pregnancy with a boy. It's common with boy pregnancies, and it was awful. If someone touched me or if one of my kids came and hugged me, I was like one big scab. It just itched constantly. You couldn't stop.
That's too bad.
I know. It was 8 months of that.
So
that's rough.
Revelation 9:11 says, over these locusts, this army of locusts that come out of the earth, over them as king, they have an angel of the abyss. In Hebrew, his name is Abaddon, destruction, right?
Abaddon.
But in Greek, he is called Apollyon, destroyer. And so, interestingly enough, CERN is in a town named after the demon that will be leading all the demon locusts
Crazy. What a
out of the
coincidence.
pit of hell in the fifth trumpet judgment in the 7-year tribulation.
What if
it's right before the 3 woes?
I'm wondering if CERN opens up that pit.
That's a good point.
A good point.
I mean, it's a big old circle there.
That is a very good point.
They say it's the gate to hell.
They do.
Yeah,
they do say
the Romans thought it was. Think
Obviously.
about this. This is CERN, the whole Big Bang thing over there in Europe. That's scientists acting like God, trying to create the conditions they think took place immediately out of the Big Bang. Today's CERN is famous for an upcoming experiment which scientists will play God in an effort to recreate the conditions of the Big
scientists
Bang.
Always trying to play God?
So Europe,
Always.
all this to say, Europe is so ready for the Antichrist. We've talked about all the things, not last week, but in the weeks before that. Europe, it's extremely anti-Israel.
Yeah.
They're very, very into Satanism. They've literally invited Babylon in, and while throwing God out. They're globalists. They're ready for this, and they're all they're missing is the guy, really, to step in and a little bit of adjustment on that confederation.
Yeah.
We'll see how that looks. It may adjust a little bit.
Yeah.
But all the countries are there.
Yep.
Right. So.
Well, it's interesting even more about the CERN. A lot of the opponents of it and naysayers about CERN and the Hadron Collider is that there is a danger of even starting a particle cascade to a black hole.
Yeah, have you seen the people who want to argue on the side of CERN and what they do?
And then
there are some fights out there on the internet.
But then, you look at a lot of scientific theory, black holes are also attributed to, kind of portals.
You mean like the Bermuda Triangle?
Not really, no.
Okay.
More like the wormhole theories.
Oh.
But there's a lot that's very interesting that has to do with that. That's, not necessarily provable scientifically, but you can look at the people who are in support of it and the people who are opposed to it, and it's interesting to see how the sides fall out there.
I wonder if maybe in the tribulation they are finally successful with that Big Bang, and that has something to do with the locusts.
And it breaks, it opens a door to a dimension that you can't
Yeah, maybe it's part of the key.
Exactly.
Right. And there's a lot more power at that time in the world, a lot more evil power. You've got the Antichrist backing all that, right?
Yeah.
So very, very interesting.
Yep.
What do you got for news there, Lonaiah?
Okay. News.
It's got to be good, otherwise they're going to start calling it snooze.
I can only report what I can report, which is facts
Most
coming out
of it
of.
you're not going to see on the news.
That's right.
Some of this you might
tune in
not.
To the Final Hour podcast.
It depends on what news channel you're watching.
Yeah, it's true.
Because
I try to watch either NBC with Lester Holt. I try to watch the national news every day. ABC, CBS, NBC, and you know what? They don't tell you anything.
No,
there's nothing.
They're not talking about truth, and they're not talking about
and the Israel thing.
We're here to bring it. Then
that's right.
The Israel thing is completely skewed.
The border.
Yes, all of that.
That's what I'm talking about. The border. I got lots of stuff on that.
Yes.
So speaking of the border, we have a lot of illegal immigrants in our country. And I don't know if you saw, but Eric Adams, remember how he opened the door to all the illegal immigrants and was like, come to New York. We love you. We want you. Yeah,
Eric
Adams,
or
the
mayor. The mayor of New York.
Of New York. Now he wants to roll out a program where he's going to give $53 million in prepaid debit cards to these illegal immigrants. This is a pilot program.
Yeah.
It's out to 15,000 migrant families that are right now in hotels. He's like, it's for their food, for their groceries, or that's food, like necessities, everyday necessities. And I don't know if you saw this, but 50 Cent. 50 Cent.
Christopher Jackson.
He saw that and was like, I think it's time Trump comes back into the White House, basically was his tweet.
They are making Trump fans out of people everywhere because of this nonsense.
It is nonsense. So they're going to start with 15,000 people, but I know that Mayor Adams asked for more money and he wants it to be 100,000 migrants that they eventually give it to. Okay. So our taxpayer dollars are going to that.
Not in New York or not in Minnesota.
Hold on. We're getting to
Minnesota.
I'm not. Minnesota's down the line. So now we're going to switch to Chicago because this is another sanctuary city. They pay their illegals more than $9,000 a month. A month, you guys.
Most people are not making $9,000 a month. No,
for housing vouchers, food, clothing, education, legal help, and other services.
Man, if you wanted to pour, I mean, look at South Chicago. They're they're moving. So I was watching I think it was Instagram Reels in Massachusetts. Massachusetts is another sanctuary city. There's a predominantly black neighborhood where they have after school activities for underprivileged black children. Yeah.
And they moved all those black kids out of this facility and this housing place so they could bring in the illegal immigrants. And this black guy, I watched him. He was like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you moving us out to bring these people in?
Right.
We're trying to make this place a better place for our kids. And this is what you're doing. Don't you care? And I was like, got tears in my eyes because I was like, here they are, all these people.
Trying.
Yes. These kids go here after school because their parents are working.
And they can be safe.
Yes.
Yep.
And now they can't. They have nowhere to go because all these cities are taking care of the illegal immigrants.
Right.
So, speaking of, I started following the Border Patrol on my Instagram feed.
Oh, really?
Okay, you guys. 90,000 illegal immigrants with criminal records have been apprehended crossing the borders. This includes murderer, rapists, pedophiles, and gang members. They just arrested, I think it was 4 people last week who beat up a New York City police officer.
Correct.
They let those guys go. I was going to actually do it.
Yeah.
They walked out of the courthouse flipping off the cameras like, we got away with this. They went to Arizona.
No speak English.
No habla español. No,
Yeah,
wait. No habla inglés.
Yes. No, that's what he was saying. That's what he was saying when he walked, given the bird.
The bird.
We got out.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, what are you going to do about it?
This is who we're letting in.
Yeah, so they went to Arizona, but the Arizona authorities arrested them.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen to them, but they arrested them.
Those kids? Good.
Those kids.
Good.
Yep. So, anyways.
But it's all to say that New York has lost their mind as far as what is right and what is moral and what they're just going to let go.
Yeah,
in the name of tolerance.
In the name of tolerance. They just Okay, so
Tolerance for votes.
it is. And if you watch any interviewer, James O'Keefe, he used to be with Project Veritas. He went to
OMG.
I don't know what he is now.
Yeah,
I think he's his rogue
O'Keefe
thing.
Media Group, OMG.
So he went to a hotel where they were bringing illegal immigrants in, crossing the border, putting them in this hotel. He went up and he started talking to the police officers and asking them about it. The police officers are like, we can't talk about this. Like, we're not allowed to. So he's like, I just want to talk to some of the immigrants. So he started talking to them, asking them who they were going to vote. Because now they can vote.
Right.
These illegal immigrants can vote. And they're all saying they're going to vote for Biden. Okay. So I feel like this is just another way for them to steal the election without having to do it through the Dominion machines. Right. They're just going to use all these people to vote illegally because they're not tracking them.
Did we have we talked about in our news that in Georgia an expert hacked the Dominion machine
a couple weeks
in
ago.
the court? Mm-hmm. Yeah, was that when I wasn't here?
No, I don't. I think you might have been here. It's okay.
Anyway, it's being proven how unsecure that system is.
Yeah, of course it's unsecure.
But we're not allowed to talk about that.
Nope,
apparently that's misinformation.
But it is. So Elon Musk tweeted out, and he said that Biden's open border floodgates is so that Democrats can stay in power. And I don't disagree with him.
Right.
We did have Chris is a listener, and he sent this in. And I know that Minnesota is trying to become a sanctuary city for illegal immigrants. We're already a sanctuary city for transgender policies. So that means any child who wants to be a transgender can come to Minnesota and without parents, and they will facilitate them in changing their gender. I don't know if anyone's been watching the news, but in New York and Montana, a child got taken away from their parents because the child wanted to transition to the opposite sex.
A 12-year-old.
And the parents from Montana, they went on Megyn Kelly. They went on Fox. They went on somewhere else. I've seen them on a few other things. I think Daily Wire. And they explain their story of how the hospital was basically pushing the agenda on their kid who got sick and started calling them a boy. And then they called Child Protective Services on them because they said the parents weren't respecting the child. So they took the kid away from the parents because Montana is... No, it's not. They're not a sanctuary city for transgenders. But anyways, the parents are in Ohio right now, taking care of a parent. And they in Montana said if they come back there, they're going to arrest them. They took their kid away, you guys.
Yeah.
So Minnesota, Colorado, Illinois, Maryland, and New Mexico are sanctuary states for protecting transgender children. But Minnesota is trying to become a sanctuary state for immigrants. And Chris sent this whole thing.
You would think we already are.
Right. You would think we already are. But he broke down the bill that they're trying to pass through Congress that Governor Walz said he will sign. And I'm going to post what he wrote because he read the whole bill. It's like a lot of information. But basically, you can't say anything against any of the illegal immigrants. And I was reading last week that since the start of September, Minneapolis has 2,500 new children placed into their school system, and they're all new immigrants into the state. 2,500. That is a lot of kids.
Is a lot.
It is. Okay. But I don't know if anyone watched the Tucker Carlson, Brett Weinstein video about the Darien Gap.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, there is this gap called the Darien Gap where immigrants migrants, so I don't know what to call them, can go to this gap. You don't have to have a passport. You don't have to have any identification, nothing, and you can cross through this gap without anything and come into the United States.
The Darien Gap, isn't that in Panama?
Panama.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's in Panama. It basically is connecting South America to Central America, and then there is a very defined pathway through that Darien Gap.
He does it,
and all the way. I mean, it's basically the road is marked to go all the way up to the States. Problem is that it is extremely dangerous.
It is extremely dangerous. I know, and they're stepping over people's bodies and trying to get here. But I watched the Tucker Carlson. I think it's an hour-ish long video. It's very, very informative. The guy's like, I just wanted to go to see what the talk was all about because everybody says that it's not true and that's not what happens there.
Yeah.
So he goes just to journalistic, I
He
guess,
was
point of view.
journalistic, being curious to find out the truth.
And he was shocked. He's like, I am shocked at what is
'Cause
allowed
he
to
walked,
come through.
He
walked
he went
it.
the whole.
Yep.
I don't know if he went the whole way, but I know he.
No, but listen to this:
did
25,000 Chinese nationals has crossed through that gap since 2023. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen, but there's been, which we've talked about. There's been a lot of videos lately of young Chinese men coming.
Yeah.
Through Panama towards the United States.
Well, right there, is it? I think it's right before the Darien Gap. There's like a Red Cross camp where.
I heard about this. Yeah.
So they're treating people. They're trying to feed them, but they are also equipping them with a map to continue on the path to the United States.
That's just absolutely.
So that's
crazy.
right there, right next to the Darien Gap. There's Red Cross. There's FEMA. Or I don't know.
But I
if
don't
it's
know.
FEMA.
I've read some things about Red Cross lately, and they are not
Sketch.
great people.
Yeah.
So did you say that in the bill, like they're going to try to keep you from giving your opinion about illegal immigration?
Yeah, I mean, I have to like have the bill. Let me look at it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to include everything.
Telling you what you
he
can
wrote.
and can't say.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Again,
Well, that's
getting the Ministry of Truth without the
Yeah.
the existence of the Ministry of Truth.
Well, hey, they want to control our information. They've said that for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'll have to find it. It's like really in my emails. There's a lot of emails. But speaking of China, have you guys heard about China's Vault Typhoon hackers
Yeah.
that were taken off online? So the Department of Justice and the FBI disrupted. It's called the Vault Typhoon. It's a major Chinese cyber espionage campaign targeting critical U.S. infrastructure.
Critical. We're talking your heating fuel. We're
Yeah,
talking
listen.
your electricity. We're talking communications.
But this was first discovered by Microsoft in 2023. Okay.
Classic Microsoft.
Yep. They believe the hackers were attempting to disrupt critical communications infrastructures, okay? Not only here, but in the United States, the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. But China claimed it was disinformation. Remember when there was like that white
course they did.
balloon floating around from China and Biden didn't do anything
Didn't
about
shut
it?
it down till it was
No, it was by my
past-
son's house in Missouri. Like,
till it was
what the
past
heck?
the United
Yeah.
States, basically.
But the FBI director, Ray?
Christopher Wray.
Yeah. Warned Congress on Wednesday. He said Chinese hackers are positioning on American infrastructure in preparation to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens and communities if and when China decides the time has come. He said that you're going to have 7,000 Chinese people over in China controlling the United States power grid is basically what he was saying. He said they take out their power grid, their gas pipelines, their water treatment, their planets, and more. That's what the director of the FBI is saying.
Yeah. That is definitely.
And then we wonder why
real-
all these Chinese people are coming across our borders.
Right.
And did you read that China is like one of the top
Illegally
buyers?
crossing our
illegally
borders.
crossing our borders. Is one of the top
Many
buyers for
lovely
housing.
Chinese immigrants
Yes.
in the United States, obviously.
Yeah.
It's the illegals that don't want to be part of our society. They want to disrupt and leech on our society.
Right. But did you read that China is one of the top in the last, I think it's 2 years, and they've grown by 17% in buying houses, like single family homes,
Yeah.
through organizations.
Yep.
Or I guess, let's say trust funds or something, or hedge fund accounts where they're buying up communities. Same with BlackRock, which BlackRock denied. I was going to talk about that, but they have a big whole statement on their website that says that they are not buying up communities for single family housing to skyrocket the prices. But I just don't believe it.
Definitely, there's some derivative investments that BlackRock is involved in, and that derivative investments are able to, like you said, flood the market with money, and it skyrockets. It brings the ability for a normal family to purchase a house because the prices are increased in significantly, but artificially.
Right. Isn't BlackRock owned by the Rockefeller family? Or no?
You have to trace it all the way. I can show you a couple of
Or is
videos that trace all that to Rothschild, and I think possibly Rockefellers as well, but there are some.
Because I heard the Rockefellers and the Rothschild, like they started working together in like the 1900s.
There's actually about 5 families that are working together in the world banking behind the scenes, but the Rothschilds are definitely part of it, and so are the
Rockefellers.
Well, hard to say about the Rockefellers. It's different.
I heard that they're like the American Rothschild.
Rothschilds.
Yeah. I don't know.
They stay in their own circles.
I don't know. I read a lot of things where they're like their businesses are intertwined.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
The elites mingle with the
Oh,
elites.
I see. That's what you're saying.
Their children mingle with the other elites'
Of
children.
course they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What a web that is. If
They'll
you've
all
ever,
get the mark together.
Yeah.
They will.
Exactly.
They'll probably. They'll have parties watching people get it, like Hunger Games style. Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about scientists earlier, and obviously scientists created the marinara. And I have just read too many things lately about this to just let this go. I know we all believe this, but more than half of the U.S. now believes that the marinara is what caused unexplained deaths. So they're saying nearly 1 out of every 4 people know someone who could have been a victim of that.
Marinara.
And I will say, I had 2 family members that I am almost 100% positive they passed away, died unexpectedly because of the marinara vaccine.
Boy.
Marinara.
Okay, so.
What? We can't say that?
No, but what we were talking about earlier, too, we were, what was the other thing that I said we were not allowed to talk about? But we talked about it anyways.
But
This could get canceled. Right?
You said you didn't care if it got canceled
No, I
on
don't.
YouTube.
No, it goes on Rumble. We get a bunch of views on Rumble then.
Okay.
Rumble.
But speaking
So
of...
if you don't find this, right?
Yes.
Find us on our
It's a
other
little late.
outlets.
I should have said that the last time. If you ever can't find it on Rumble. You can get it on Rumble. It's going to go up on Rumble if YouTube cancels it.
Or you can go to thefinalhourpodcast.com.
All one word.
All one word.
No spaces.
And find it.
www.thefinalhourpodcast.com.
Well, I'm just bringing facts from
Yeah,
articles.
But you're not allowed to talk about those facts.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But Jim, we bring the news that no one else brings.
Right. No, I know.
true.
I'm not.
We just
I
have to be creative in how we present.
We did
it.
marinara.
Yeah, but then you said the V word.
Yeah, that's.
We're not allowed to say ever again. So ever again. How do they know what vaccine I'm talking about? I could be talking about the polio. Okay. So
have you ever had a good
marinara
meat sauce marinara?
Yeah, I have.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm. You know what used to be like the pinnacle of meat sauce marinara?
What's that?
Devani's. But you know what? They're not.
They aren't. I'm
I'll
glad
tell
you
you
have woken up.
Their sandwiches are amazing.
Their sandwiches are amazing.
Yeah.
Roast beef sandwich.
Oh, I like the turkey one.
I might get 2 of them today.
I'm kind of thinking about a meatball sandwich. I haven't had one in a while.
My daughter makes a good meatball sub.
Nice.
I fell off my food wagon.
Did you?
I made it a month.
What happened? Well,
Made it a month.
What did you finally end it
I
with?
did 19 days of nothing but meat.
Good for you.
I don't know why I did it.
Did you feel good about it, though?
No, I didn't. By the time I was done, I was so tired of it. And then I went into a carb cycling thing for 2 weeks. And I was rolling. And then suddenly, 2 days in a row, boom. Jets Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday.
Good for you.
Chipotle.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happens once you go down the hill.
So you have to stop the slide.
Yeah.
Right? So...
You stop the slide by doing a Jimmy John's unwich.
I wouldn't even pay for that. I wouldn't even pay for an unwich. You just make some lettuce and put some meat in it.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyways. Jerry,
I can't wait
what are
to
you doing
hear
now?
what Jim eats next week.
Still on TikTok.
Okay. Well,
TikTok's informative.
Maybe you should read the Bible on TikTok. I keep sending Jared on TikTok. I send him the Gen Z Bible.
Oh, do you?
Where it's like passages of the Bible, but put into Gen Z slang.
That's actually
It is
funny.
so
Speaking of Gen Z slang, my daughter, I don't know why, but she keeps calling everyone blood. It's like her new. And I was like, if I hear blood one more time,
blood.
I'm going to. Yes, it's so annoying. So annoying. I can't stand it.
Of the
East Coast.
Is it? Is that where it's from?
definitely.
I'm going to tell her that.
I just heard Chuck Missler talking about all the translations,
Yeah.
and it kind of checked me a little bit because he's like, you know what? As we get all these translations out, Chuck Missile before he died, so this is a few years ago, is like it dilutes it. It dilutes the real word of God, and some of them slightly will change the meaning that the Holy Spirit wanted to impart.
Yep.
You have to be careful with the translations.
Yeah.
And I know I'm one to talk with my 26 translation Bible, but it just had me kind of reevaluate what I'm doing with translations.
That's also why it's really good to have a resource like Rick Renner with his
He's
Sparkling Gems, where he takes it and he breaks it down and goes to the root of it, right from the lexicon. It's great.
That's what it's from.
Yeah.
So you got that's
good.
All right. Well,
sweet.
We enjoyed being with you.
Yeah.
Today, and it's really depressing that no one wanted the stinking bat coin. Like no one emailed in. You don't want the coin?
I don't want the coin.
Fine. Okay.
Are you offended, Jim? Does that hurt your heart a little?
You would thought people would be.
Give me the money, I think, is what
for
if we...
sure would
Does
want
anybody
that coin
want-
to be just the fact that it was on my garage, in my garage, a whole summer.
Like, do you know what's gross? Garage floors.
No, they're not great.
They're just
on.
dirty.
Does anybody want a Dogecoin? I'll buy them a Dogecoin if they want.
Well, it's too
I have.
late.
Do I still have Dogecoins? I feel
I
like I
don't
do.
I think Carol emailed in and said that those bat coins can be worth
They
stuff.
were, but you know what? We researched it. It's not the ones worth any money. It's just worth 25 cents from your
But
National
which,
Park
you know,
Service.
Nobody wanted the bat coin.
25 cents is pretty good for a hunk of metal. So
It's a little odd too. Don't you pray the blood of Jesus over your house like every day?
Yeah,
So it has to be anointed.
it's covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, my house is covered. My windows are covered.
You have it-
I've got walls.
you can have
around
it
my house of
in
the
a
blood.
jar like Uncle Scrooge and have your
Oh,
your
yes,
original
like the special
dime.
one.
Yeah, he's got the original.
I've got a shield of the blood over in the atmosphere above my house.
Absolutely.
I've got a sheet of the blood of
Can
Jesus
I-
Christ over my roof.
Like a talith.
This is what I do every day.
Yeah.
I'm like obsessed with it,
Yeah.
with applying the blood. So
It's like the prayer covering in Hebrew culture, the talith. That's what they cover their
Oh,
heads
yes.
with while they're praying.
Yes, that thing is
Be
interesting.
like one of those.
I think I scratched my. Did you
The
see
face of your
you see a
watch.
scratch on there?
You gotta lick your finger and wipe it off. Wait, can I say something about the Rothschilds that I forgot?
Yes.
Okay, so I watched
The red shields.
I watched a documentary on them.
Yeah.
So they basically started by buying these coins from people who they found these rare coins, and the King of France.
Well, didn't you see that his dad had a coin shop? Right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I know,
okay.
but I'm saying
Okay.
so they started that, and then the dad died, and then some of the sons took over.
Right.
So the son Nathan got connected with I don't know what his name is, but Gazelle Maxwell's father.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he said, this is what I'm going to do with the money. I'm going to do all these things. He ended up embezzling all the money from everybody. Took the money. They ended up finding out what he did with the money because it was public back then, right?
Yeah.
All documents were public at that time. They could be public. So the Maxwell guy goes on
You're talking banking documents?
Yes, banking
Okay.
documents.
All right.
He ends up going on a trip and gets lost over in the water. Like
Yeah.
they don't know if he
Overboard.
dies or what happens to him.
Yeah.
So after that, everything got brought out that this guy took money from this family. They lended it to him, and then he kind of like bamboozled everybody and
Yeah.
stole their funds.
Embezzled everything.
So the Rockefellers,
Yeah.
no, the Rothschilds at that time said that the banking systems need to be made private so that so you couldn't go in and to see what somebody actually used their money on.
So
But
they-
isn't it interesting that they're connected to
anti-transparency.
like one of the dirtiest, like
Yeah.
the whole Gazelle Maxwell, what's his
Yeah.
name? Epstein Island, all that, how
Yeah.
all these things are just connected with each other.
Well, I think something you can talk about in the Rothschilds and the bankings is the history of the federal banks or national banks in the United States, and how multiple times presidents had to dissolve these so-called national banks or federal banks
Yeah.
until 1913 when Wilson let it. Was it Wilson? Woodrow Wilson let the
Andrew Jackson is the one who
Andrew Jackson was the
refused
first one.
because
The
Alexander
second.
Hamilton
Yes.
is
Yep.
the one who brought the Rothschilds in.
Yeah,
And to
then
think I,
they
like,
kept
loved him.
they kept going, and then that was part of the, really, what I would say the cascade of the 20 years from the 1913 opening of the Fed into the Great Depression, and all. Since then, it's
Well, the Vanguards got really rich during the Great Depression. I watched a whole thing on him.
Yep. So there's a lot that is undisclosed and behind doors is known about the Fed, but the Fed is not actually part of our government.
No.
The Fed is para-government. It's not part of, and so there's because it's called the federal bank, everybody assumes that's part of our government, but it is not.
Nope.
And so we are going to have a good weekend, are we not?
We're gonna have a great weekend.
Can't wait. Hey,
Yes.
it's the Super Bowl weekend.
And you do not want to miss it.
You do not.
No, yeah, we have. Well, it's too late if they're gonna.
Right.
I could tell. I was
But
gonna
we
say
are doing
we have free
donuts this
all,
weekend.
at church all weekend, but
Yep, me and John will be there managing the donuts.
I'll be doing a live pre-service. So if you have checked in 2 days ago when this episode launches, it was nice to see you online.
and if you came, thanks for coming.
Thanks for eating some sugar
For the
at our donut
services.
table.
Do
Yes.
you like the donuts?
Yeah,
Who doesn't like donuts?
Jim.
You don't like donuts, Jim?
I do try to stay away from the sugar.
We're not asking that, but do you like donuts?
Yeah,
Who
Okay.
doesn't like donuts?
The thing
That's
is,
what
if I'm
Jeremiah
going to eat donuts, and be 6 of them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just. Why would you just do one donut? That's
Have you
so
tried
dumb.
the ones from Ufta Donuts, the new place in Maple Grove?
That's okay. I love Valley Pastry Donuts.
I know you
Funner
do.
Brothers.
Those are good.
Ooh, and if you're looking for a really good cinnamon roll place, Isle Bun and
Aisle
Coffee.
bun,
Lake of the Isles.
really good. Really, really good.
Called
Dog
Isle.
tails. Get a dog
Puppy
tail
tails. Puppy
roll.
tails.
And on that note,
Puppy tails.
Do you want to bet?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to look it up. Go ahead, Jim.
let's see who is right.
I better be.
And we'll close it on that note.
Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl 21-17.
Do you think so?
The chefs.
21-17.
I hate the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Puppy tails. Puppy dog tails, actually. They're called puppy dog
We
tails.
both win.
We win.
All right. High five.
So
Tie. That's rare that those happen, ties. Usually I lose.
My wife introduced me to Isle Bun. She's like, I want a good cinnamon roll.
Yeah, you don't have to go all the way to Toby's. You can just go there
They're way
instead.
better
Saves
than
you 2
Toby's.
hours.
Way better than
One
Toby's.
time, me and my family decided we were going to go to Toby's and get cinnamon rolls. But it's like 9 o'clock at night. This is a long time ago. And we drive all the way up there and they didn't have them.
It's happened to
I
me.
lost my crap on the lady.
I
did.
It
I had to
happened to us
apologize.
one time as well. We were driving by. We're like, oh, we gotta stop at Toby's.
No, we drove there specifically
Yeah.
for that. And then there's a Taco Bell across the way. So Taco Bell saved us. But who wants a Taco Bell when you're thinking you're going to get a cinnamon roll?
No one.
You got little cinnamons.
Yeah, that's true. But they were gone. They were out of everything. I even went to the gas station because sometimes the gas station has extras. This guy walked out right in front of me with him, and I was like, okay. I had to apologize to a lot of people that night.
Did you drink that whole coffee during this episode?
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why am I in a better mood than when I started?
Yes.
Oh.
Listen, we'll end it on a weird story.
Oh yeah.
I was in Singapore, lived in Singapore. My son was in 3rd grade, and we didn't have a basketball hoop. We lived in an apartment. So we had to to shoot baskets, we had to take a cab to a park. And so we take a cab down to this park, and I get out of the cab, and Jamie's like, "Oh, Dad, they're just standing around on the court smoking." Like it was a bunch of Chinese guys, right? Because Singapore is 90%,
Predominantly.
yeah, Chinese, and so they're just standing out smoking. I don't know if this in between games. We just want to shoot. He wanted to train, right? And I was so frustrated, right, that we took the cab all the way down there, and that they're down. No one's ever at this court.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I said, and they couldn't understand me, but I was like, I'm standing outside the cab about 20 yards away. And I'm like, are you going to play? Are you going to play or not? Are you going to play or are you going to sit there and smoke cigarettes? Right?
Yeah.
Play.
Did they play?
Then they started playing. And I got in the cab and rode away.
That's funny.
And so my son's like, my son, you know, third grade, you know, sees his dad get out of the cab and make all these
Yell at a
Chinese
crowd
guys start playing basketball, get back in the cab and leave. Anyways, with that, and by the way, that wasn't last week, Tom. This is 2003.
Yeah.
All right. So God bless you. Hope to have you tune in again.
I love you.